Hello, this is David from davidcliveprice.com, and this is the podcast edition of this week's e-zine number 16, 5 Mandates for Successful Business in China. The only way to truly understand the Chinese business world is through regular visits, or even better, extended stays and/or continuous presence. China is not a market, or more correctly, many markets, that will reward a lazy approach to business. Video conferencing a partner or visiting a trade fair won't cut it. You need to allocate time and money to get a grip on the market's specific dynamics and culture. Only then can you understand the way that business in China is done, both in the country as a whole and in your specific market. Mandate 1. Building for the long term. The main business-related cross-cultural difference between the West and the Chinese is the significance of the long-term business relationship. What the Chinese call guanxi, relationships, are at the heart of the Chinese business process. When Chinese business people meet for the first time, they begin to immediately build guanxi. They will probably spend many hours drinking tea or dining and discussing what seems to be non-business to Westerners. The Chinese use this process to assess people they might like to work with. This often makes results-driven Westerners very impatient. However, having a good network of connections, guanxi wang, in China is the most important element of business success. Every Chinese cultivates his or her own network of personal relationships in business, by which is meant networks with obligations. Mandate 2. Local partner, but be realistic. For Westerners, too, guanxi relationships and networking often serve to smooth out operations. It is therefore essential to work initially through an intermediary or local partner that can make a formal introduction and vouch for the reliability of your company. Team members and local partners must be recruited that understand how the guanxi system operates. Many foreign business people hold unrealistic expectations that one local Chinese partner can accomplish everything for them. They don't realize that you may well need specialists in every area of business you are targeting, and not simply a local fixer. Don't forget that the Chinese, like most Asians, avoid losing face at all costs, and have innumerable ways of saying yes when they mean no. And just as you wouldn't expect to work with someone in your home market who is not a specialist in that business, it is important to find the right person to open doors in China and navigate the minefield that is Chinese bureaucracy. Mandate 3. Trust is not built overnight. There is a Chinese proverb that says, "A man needs his face like a tree needs its bark." The Chinese character Xin, trustworthiness, expresses a belief in developing credibility and reputation over time. But how is this achieved? Business relationships in China are built formally after the Chinese begin to know you through your intermediaries and associates, the materials that describe your company, and face-to-face meetings. Every step along the way is slow, burdened with bureaucracy, and requires extreme patience. But the rewards of persistence can often be highly worthwhile. At no stage in the process should it be forgotten that the correct approach is official and formal. Social events are not the places for business discussion, and the two should not be confused. Mandate 4. Manage your expectations. It is important to pave the way for the first negotiation or presentation. To see your Chinese counterparts without a fixed agenda. This can take several months by itself. Older Chinese can attend whole meetings without a substantive issue being discussed. Trust has to develop before bargaining begins. And when negotiations finally occur, The Chinese do not necessarily pursue a win-win line, but rather one of fair play for those that have dealings with them. They are particularly attracted to value-enhancing investors such as those with expertise in accounting, marketing, and technical systems and know-how. Ultimately, they tend to look for long-term relationships. Once you reach the negotiating or presentation stage, be patient and listen. Mandate 5. The value of the total deal. Bring along your own interpreter if legal or technical issues are to be discussed, and do not rely entirely on the interpreter for the Chinese side. Present written material in both English and Chinese using simplified Chinese characters, and be very careful that translations are accurate. If advised by your partner, send presentations in advance. A Western approach to negotiation is generally based on logical, sequential steps. For most Chinese, however, negotiation consists of a series of isolated subjects that are finally all connected together based on the value of the total deal. This approach requires persistence and can be a powerful means for Chinese negotiators to secure the point they are seeking, or at least a compromise at the very last moment. Don't be surprised that the final contract is not final, but a declaration of intent and goodwill, a platform for further open-ended discussion. The Chinese market requires tolerance of risk, a readiness to embrace lessons that arise from failure, and extreme persistence. But the end results are well worth it. I'd love to hear from you if you have tips or comments about doing business in China or in other parts of Asia. You can leave them at my blog, www.davidcliveprice.com/blog, and of course, please subscribe if you want more on-the-ground intel like this. Just add yourself to the subscription box on www.davidcliveprice.com, and you can also subscribe to this podcast on iTunes.